our not so old presidente, who definitely isn't senile. Please don't say that, Jon Stewart. I hope Jon Stewart didn't say that because I haven't watched it yet. He delivered some remarks on the incredible bill, because guess what, dude? America fights on a lot of issues. Okay, Travis Kelce versus Ron Purdy or whatever that guy's name is. Okay. Did Jesus Christ win or lose at the Super Bowl? Did Satan win or lose at the Super Bowl? Now, on to the real news. The one thing that Americans do unite on is giving money and weapons to Israel. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. While Israel is conducting an ongoing genocide, Senate passed a $95 billion foreign aid bill for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan on Tuesday, with more than 20 Republicans defying former President Donald Trump, who fervently spoke out against the bill. Senate voted 70-29 to approve the bill early, with 22 Republican senators supporting it. Trump, whose opposition to the initial national security supplemental led to its demise, lambasted the foreign aid bill, saying in a social media post over the weekend that the United States should only loan money to foreign allies. Senator Lindsey Graham, a national security hawk who once supported the foreign aid, voted no on the bill Tuesday and echoed Trump's comments that any aid should be a loan, even though much of the money would go to American companies to replenish U.S. arms supplies. Having this happen so publicly, and the meta change from supposedly liberal but neutral outlets very openly saying, like, no, guys, like, this is actually good for the American economy, is a really interesting predicament, because it is actually the driving engine of the American economy is the military-industrial complex. This part is true. This is something I talk about all the time. But back in the day, when I used to say this kind of thing, people would look at me like I'm a conspiracy theorist, okay? Like, oh, yeah, dude, sure, I just watched Loose Change. Oh, I just watched Zeitgeist. Look at me. No, this is how it works. We give money to these countries. We give aid packages to these countries. And then that money goes back to the American military-industrial complex, because they're buying our weapons with that money. And it is, I would say, demonic, terrifying, bad in general. It's another way that we subsidize the military-industrial complex, even though we subsidize it on the front side as well. Having said that, though, we could have this kind of, Keynesian economics when it comes to, any other initiative, as a matter of fact, that doesn't engage in death dealing. It's actually a big chunk of what I advocate for, because I see the fucking way that it works for the military-industrial complex. So I'm not angry on the principles of this money cycling in and out. I just personally despise the fact that all of our jobs programs revolve around fucking killing people. Okay? What's really, really, really frustrating about this entire predicament, beyond the opinions I have on maybe we shouldn't be spending so much on death dealing. Like, sure, it's great that F-35s are fucking flying overseas and lasering like brown children overseas and thousands and thousands of miles away, instead of, being able to purchase medication or being able to get medication for free even. But of course, we always have money in the banana stand for the motherfucking military-industrial complex. Democrats, I repeat, are championing genocide openly. They are trying to outflank the Republicans from the right on the issue of genocide, when 50% of the Democratic Party's voter base says what Israel is doing is an act of genocide. Think about that. 50% of the Democratic voter base thinks that Israel is doing genocide against the Palestinians. And while that's happening, the Democratic Party's organs of communication are proudly screaming that we need to give billions more to that same genocide. Meanwhile, the only saving grace in this circumstance are the Republicans, who will gridlock and obstruct no matter what. This is literally the grand bargain playing out once again. The Obama administration did this with Social Security cuts. They were going to cut Social Security. And the only thing that stopped the Obama administration from cutting Social Security was the Tea Party caucus and how interested they were in obstructing. It blows my mind that this is where we're at. Sorry, it's not 50% of Democrats. It's half of Americans that think Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, according to a UMass Amherst WCVB poll. Half of Americans think Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza, but they also simultaneously think it's fine, okay? That's the thing you need to understand. They're like, yes, it's genocide, and yes, it's fine. That's oftentimes the actual position. And that's a terrifying prospect, but it's one that you have to reckon with if you want to understand how bloodthirsty and monstrous American small business tyrants can get. Meanwhile, we're also doing this while simultaneously Brandon is like secretly talking shit about Benjamin Netanyahu behind closed doors. It's absolutely idiotic. And that is precisely the reason why Biden can't even fully shift the blame on the Netanyahu, use the leverage he has as like, being the American government to stop giving any aid to Israel whatsoever and saying, you need to cut it out, Jack. It's the Mac attack, which he should be doing right now. And that's precisely why, and I'm going to give you another number here. Trump, according to polls, has a 10-point lead on Biden on the issue of Israel. Americans, by a 10-point margin, think Donald Trump would handle Israel better than Joe Biden. A masterclass in politics, folks. Once again, we have bad policy and bad politics. The Democrats have done it again. Sit back and enjoy the show. Think about that. 10 points. Part of the reason why is because Americans are dumb as fuck, and they think that, like, whoever is president is, like, uniquely incapable of whatever crisis, so they immediately blame whoever is president for the crisis, which in this case does actually make sense. The other reason is because Trump is not currently the president, and therefore they don't know how bad it could get because they don't think about it. They don't think that, like, Donald Trump is personally responsible for a lot of the chaos in Israel right now, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, permanently recognizing annexed lands such as Golan Heights, which is Syrian territory, technically illegally occupied and annexed by Israel. And also, of course, the Jared Kushner-Abraham Accords, which are supposed to publicly normalize relations with all the Gulf states and whatnot with Israel, while completely sidestepping the Palestinian wants and interests in that process, which was understandably very frustrating for the Palestinians, which played a big role in October 7 and as the motivation in October 7. So, having said all of this, I do not believe that Donald Trump would be a better person to deal with Israel-Palestine than Joe Biden. I will never say this. I think he would be worse even if you can get worse. But it would literally be the difference between 100% Hitler and 100% Hitler. Why do Americans think that way? Well, it's because Biden is wishy-washy and weak. It comes across as he's an old senile man asleep at the wheel who keeps saying, come on, Jack. It's like, bitch, it's not that he can't do anything. He can do a lot of things. He's doing a lot of things. He's doing a lot of things in the opposite direction. So all this does is make him look weak on the international stage to all of America's allies that we cannot fucking rein in our attack dog, okay? And also on top of that, domestically, it plays really, really poorly as well because people look at this and go, you're an old man, you fucking idiot. Yeah, I mean, this is a good take as well. Breaking, Biden reportedly calls Netanyahu derogatory terms in private as frustrations grow with Israel. Like, what is he going to fucking say, like, anti-Jewish slurs in private? And then all of a sudden it's going to magically fix the problem? Like, what do you mean derogatory terms? So he's like, oh, yeah, guys, hold on, dude. He's going to drop a tactical K word, okay? And then all of a sudden it's going to clear everything out. The fuck are you saying? What is this bullshit? Derogatory sounds like spin. Yes, they think, the Biden comms people literally think that this works, okay? The Biden comms people think that this makes Biden look good. It makes Biden look dynamic. He's privately very upset with Netanyahu. Come on, guys. He's trying really hard. By the way, the derogatory term apparently is that he called him an asshole, which many people have. He is fucking awful. Netanyahu has been called an asshole time and time again. I believe that the United States should not be involved in other people's affairs in the ways that it does, in a violent military or with violent military action, occupying the country with boots on the ground military warfare, or funding and funneling weapons into the country, or doing coups and stuff like that. All of that I consider to be bad, okay? This does not mean I'm an isolationist. I believe in global commerce. I believe in internationalism. I believe in uplifting every country on the planet unconditionally so that we can all prosper together. I believe that we cannot achieve that through capitalism. I believe that we can only achieve that through socialism. But that's besides the point. I think it is ridiculous assuming that the way that we have been operating for as long as we have in the violent ways that we have become the hegemonic superpower should continue, must continue, and will continue without any kind of interference or without any kind of backlash. And that's why we say America is basically at the precipice of dying. It is the death rattle of an empire, and there is no better person to be the leader of said dying empire than a dying man. Let's watch this old fart.
This is a critical act for the House to move. It needs to move. The bill provides urgent funding for Ukraine. We've all seen the terrible stories in recent weeks. Ukrainian soldiers out of artillery shells, Ukrainian units rationing rounds of ammunition to defend themselves, Ukrainian families worried that the next Russian strike will permanently plunge them into darkness. This bipartisan bill sends a clear message to Ukrainians and to our allies around the world. America can be trusted, and America stands up for freedom. We stand strong for our allies. We never bowed down to anyone. We unified NATO, expanded it. We can't walk away now. Supporting this bill is standing up to Putin. Opposing it is playing into Putin's hands. If we don't stop Putin's appetite for power and control in Ukraine, he won't limit himself just to Ukraine. For Republicans in Congress who think they can oppose funding for Ukraine and not be held accountable, history is watching. Failure to support Ukraine at this critical moment will never be forgotten. While this bill sends military equipment to Ukraine, it spends the money right here in the United States of America, places like Arizona, where the Patriot missiles are built, and Alabama, where the Javelin missiles are built. And the way it works is we supply Ukraine with military equipment from our stockpiles, and then we spend our money replenishing those stockpiles so our military has access to them.
Dude, this is literally the most frustrating. One, you're openly complicit in genocide and saying that this genocide is like giving us money and therefore it's like pretty sick. And secondly, it's a straight up, oh my God, he admitted moment. Look at what has happened to American culture, American commentary, American politics since, and this guy is not exactly infallible either, but President Dwight D. Eisenhower's military-industrial complex farewell address.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment.
Here, this is
Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportion.
By the way, it's only obviously ballooned since then, but this is the most important part of it, okay? We have created a permanent armament industry of vast proportions. These are the words you need to remember.
We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development. Yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Dwight D. Eisenhower, yeah. Here is the part that is important. A chatter also brought it up. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed. This world in arms is not spending money alone. It is spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, the hopes of its children. The cost of one modern heavy bomber is this: a modern brick school in more than 30 cities. It is 2 fine, fully equipped hospitals. We pay for a single fighter with 500,000 bushels of wheat. We pay for a single destroyer with new homes that could have housed more than 8,000 people. This is not a way of life at all in any true sense. Under the cloud of threatening war, it is humanity hanging from a cross of iron. This attitude is now regarded as being pro-Putin, as being America's being against America's interests. This attitude is now regarded as like being pro-terrorism against America. This is what I try to instill to this audience every fucking day of the week. You still have people that turn around and go, Putin made clear he won't negotiate about Ukraine. There are still 35 million Ukrainians that would go into the fascist regime that wants to eradicate their identity. On top, Putin not stop after UA if he was successful. And it's this mentality of fear, for valid reasons, mind you, okay? But this mentality of fear is what causes American empire to continue and the American war machine to continue. You can write all the essays on the fucking planet. I'm not even saying personally that there is no aid to be given to Ukraine, okay? That there should not be any aid given to Ukraine. I'm not saying that at all. However, if our reasoning for giving aid to Ukraine is simply to, as Biden also personally admitted here, is that it cycles through the American economy and you personally cope and seethe and make it seem as though, oh, he's only saying that because he wants to win over votes. That's why he's trying to sell the idea of giving more money or weapons to a genocidal state like Israel. Well, you have to also reckon with the reality that every dollar that goes to the military-industrial complex is a dollar that could have gone to fixing our roads, to fixing our housing problem, our housing crisis, to fixing our infrastructure, to fixing our power grid, to fixing our public transit opportunities. All of that demonstrates once again that America's motivation overall is to keep the military-industrial complex running no matter what. I don't want Ukrainians to die. I want the Russian aggression to end. I want the Russian invasion to end. And the only solution to that is either nuclear holocaust on the one hand, greatly escalating conflict and tensions and going in full blown with the American military as though Ukraine is a Article 5 NATO country, or aiding Ukraine simply to rebuild Ukraine and not aiding Ukraine militarily while simultaneously going to the bargaining table with Putin, telling our Ukrainian allies that, yes, you can do it now. I know it's not the best position, but we will do everything in our power to help you get through this. And we will do everything in our power to bargain and ensure that this war ends. Well said, I agree with you, but why would Putin ever come to the table without taking Ukraine at this point? Or will he look weak? Or why should Ukraine do that? And if Trump wins, he will 100% side with Putin and Israel, and it will be the worst. I think that even if Russia has no reason to follow through on the conditions of a peaceful negotiation, a peaceful cessation of hostilities, it is unimaginably stupid to not try. Okay? And if the Western world's approach up until this moment was like, no, we got you. We got you all the way. We got you all the way, fam. We'll give you all the weapons you can at a time when Ukraine is not even just running out of weapons, but also now has a problem with just straight up military, okay? When there's not enough military-aged men that are in the military to defend, to use the weapons that are going in. All this does is prolong the conflict. All this does is prolong the conflict. The military-industrial complex keeps making money. Ukrainians keep dying. Russian conscripts keep dying. And it doesn't ultimately change the dynamic. We saw this with the failure of the counteroffensive. The slow burn of money and aid that went into Ukraine over the course of the past 2 years created a perfect environment for the American military-industrial complex. And at the time, I said that our interests in Ukraine are not honest or just, even though we are on the right side morally of this conflict, because Ukraine is being invaded. Russians are the ones doing the invasion. They're in the wrong. Because our interests are simply prolonging the conflict and crippling the Russian military, everyone fucking yelled at me and said I'm a Vladimir Putin defender. My opinion on this has not changed. What do you think Ukraine can put on the table to negotiate at this point? Dismantle Azov? Abolish ad breaks? Oh, fuck. It is not up to you, you fucking imperialistic fucks. Why should Ukraine? You are being so fucking US-centric, it's painful. Yes, dude, I am, my analysis is only America this, America that. I don't have any fucking deep thought ever. I am an imperialist for saying that Russia has no right to Ukrainian territory. and that Ukrainian emancipation is a just cause. All of this stuff is correct. America's involvement in the process, however, is either nut up or shut up. Okay? And if you're not going to do fucking Article 5, if you're not going to go in with NATO, then fucking work towards a peaceful agreement, a peaceful solution. And if it doesn't fucking work, then you're back to square one anyway. Why is this so confusing for so many people? Yeah, if Ukraine wants a more favorable peace deal, they should probably do it before they run out of military-age men. Why do liberals think prolonging this war is good for Ukraine? Draft riots will happen and will cause further internal destabilization for Ukraine. Yeah. Yes. Imagine having forcible conscription and fucking additional, like, expanding on the forcible conscription. Many people trying to escape Ukraine as a consequence of that, which is already happening in slower, in like, smaller versions that are already occurring. And then having massive destabilization as a consequence of that, having to give up half your military police to like dealing with that shit, while simultaneously working on defending your territories, what remains of your territories from the Russian military. Okay, this stuff is so dumb. But this is simply just the Ukrainian side of the equation. The real other side of the conversation is the Israel side, which we haven't even talked about. Because while we are technically on the right side, even for the wrong reasons in Ukraine, we are definitely on the wrong side when it comes to Israel's ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza.
This bill meets our national security priorities in the Middle East as well and includes greater support for our troops serving in the region, who continue to defend against militia attacks backed by Iran. It also provides Israel with what it needs to protect its people against a terrorist group like Hamas and Hezbollah and others. And it will provide life-saving humanitarian aid to the Palestinian people. And finally, this bill includes critical funding for our national security priorities in Asia. Because even as we focus on the conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine, we must not take our eye off our national security challenges in the Pacific.
What's happening in Asia now? What do you mean? Taiwan, which is our weapon that we wield. It's gross, man. It's fucking gross. Here's why it's gross, okay? I don't think China is ever going to, according to what Xi Jinping has said, is ever going to be like, all right, fuck it. Make Taiwan an American military base. Go ahead. Its closest point is a mile off the shoreline. It's technically the main bulk of the island is 100 miles off the coast. Its airspace is intertwined with mainland China. And they're a very important trade partner for Taiwan anyway. America's own personal opinion on the matter, or at least the way that they communicate to the rest of the world, is called strategic ambiguity. It means that, yes, we will keep funneling weapons into Taiwan. We will keep saying, Taiwan will defend you, will defend you, will defend you, will defend you, while also simultaneously saying, guess what? Taiwan and China are one nation, as a matter of fact. That is the official policy, but that's not what you hear if you listen to the media or if you listen to any number of these fucking American empire is better than anything else Andes out here. There's a reason why, while yes, the Taiwanese population does want independence inevitably, and that is understandable, because why the fuck would they want more stringent, more rigorous Chinese control over their own civil liberties that they've gotten used to? Okay, why would they? Nobody wants that. Hong Kong, similar situation there. They understandably want independence from the People's Republic of China. The overwhelming majority of Taiwanese population still, to this day at least, says they don't want to rock the boat. The current order of business is good. That's it. This is the consistent position in polls in Taiwan, which is that, yes, the majority still wants independence down the line. It is never discussed what the down the line time frame looks like. And beyond that, the current order of business in the way that the status quo in the way that it exists is, yes, we do not want to be invaded by China, and we do not want to rock the boat and continue working with China in the way that we have. Yeah, there's a reason why Biden also says our interest in the Pacific instead of Taiwan for a reason. Because Taiwan is not the real fucking interest. Our interest is trying to have stress points, pressure points against a foreign adversary that we're gearing up in terms of war against. Cold War, hot war, doesn't matter. We have also greatly militarized, formerly non-militarized nations like Japan. Japan is no longer simply just a American military base, okay, an island that we are using as an American military base. We also, on top of that, are allowing Japan to also militarize again. South Korea obviously has been militarized since day one. It was a literal military dictatorship originally. All of this spells trouble. Australia, the Philippines. We are surrounding the South China Sea with contentious adversaries that we will very easily throw into conflict if need be, with the sole purpose of trying to take down or cripple our foreign adversary if push comes to shove. It's terrifying. The AUKUS agreement is terrifying, obviously. You know, nuclear subs being built in Australia. It's great for the Australian economy, mate. Fucking awesome. I love it, personally. AUKUS, the Quad, Philippines, Vietnam. We're encircling China. Fucking hell, mate. We got fucking nuclear submarines, mate. Putting a fucking shrimp on a barbie. Great. We're sick cunts. It's great for our economy, right? You've heard about shrimps on the barbie. How about a fucking nuke on the barbie? All right, let's finish all this.
He would encourage Russia to, quote, do whatever the hell they want, end of quote. A former president of the United States saying that. The whole world heard it. The worst thing is he means it. No other president in our history has ever bowed down to a Russian dictator. I never will.
Oh, hell yeah, Brandon.
It's dumb, it's shameful, it's dangerous, it's un-American. When we make a commitment, we keep it.
Dang right.
And NATO is a sacred commitment. Donald Trump looks at this as if it's a burden. He doesn't understand that NATO is built on the fundamental principles of freedom, security, and national sovereignty.
NATO is here for the principles of freedom and justice and honesty and all the good things. This is a sacred pact. Yeah, man. So sacred. It's so sick. All of our enemies out there, they're not interested in self-interest. They're not rational actors, Jack. They're bad and they're wrong. And we, on the other hand, are always right. And so are our allies. They're doing righteous.
Article 5 has only been invoked once, just once in our NATO history. And it was done to stand with America after we were attacked on 9/11.
Yeah, that was real sick that we did that, by the way. Yeah, that was cool. Okay, I don't care about any of this. All right. The bill now heads to the House over Speaker Mike Penis, in a statement Monday night, strongly suggests he may not take the Senate bill to the floor. Schumer said in Tuesday morning news conference that he hopes to impress upon Johnson how urgent it is for the House to act on the bill. Schumer said he hopes to speak to Johnson directly in the coming days. My message to Johnson is that this is a rare moment where history is looking upon the United States and seeing if we will stand up for our values, stand up to bullies like Putin, and do the right thing. I will say to Speaker Johnson, I am confident that there's a large majority in the House who will vote for this bill. I'm confident there are many Republicans in this caucus. I know I've spoken to a whole bunch of them who feel strongly we ought to pass this bill, and I will urge Speaker Johnson to step up to the moment and do the right thing. Schumer said House Republicans will be giving an enormous gift of Vladimir Putin if they do not act. The responsibility now falls on Speaker Speaker Penis, and House Republicans to approve this bill swiftly. And I call on Speaker Penis to rise to the occasion, to do the right thing, bring this bill to the floor. As I said, given the large majority, robust majority here in the Senate, it is clear that this bill was brought on the floor. This bill is brought to the floor. It will pass. Schumer's asked a number of questions about possible House amendments to this package. While he didn't fully rule out considering a House amendment version of the bill, he did repeatedly state that he believes the House ought to pass the Senate version. I mean, no one even knows how this loan program would work, because Donald Trump says something doesn't mean Republicans should march into lockstep to do it. Okay.
White House think that the idea of the president taking a cognition test, a cognitive test.
With Dr. O'Connor, it's kind of what he said to me about a year ago when the report came out last year, obviously on his physical, which is the president proves every day how he operates.
He proves every day how he operates, which is weird that I'm saying that, because every single day when he operates, people are like, oh God, his brain is mush. Oh no, his brain is definitely not fine. It's like, that's what he's proving. So I don't know if that's a good thing to say here.
How he thinks, right? But by dealing with world leaders, by making really difficult decisions on behalf of the American people, whether it's domestic, whether it's national security. That is how Dr. O'Connor sees it, and that's how I'm going to leave it.
What do you think about the idea of taking that kind of a test?
I believe, for me, you're asking me my personal opinion, he is sharp. He is
Just cook the books, man. Get like a Trumpian style doctor to come in. Like, you know, the most alcoholic military doctor that they could find, like Dr. Feelgood, who was like, Trump is so sexy. His penis is 13 inches. Okay. He's got a thick 8 was the previous reporting on the matter, but I'm here to tell you he's got a thick 13. That's right. We don't even know how that's possible. I'm a doctor and I'm a reputable medical professional. Remember when Trump's doctor literally was saying like he could live to the age 200 and his arteries were not filled to the brim with what I assume is lard from direct McDonald's consumption? Like, why can't the Brandon regime do this? The Brandon regime is so powerful that it's investigating its political rivals. Okay, why can't you just find a fucking fake doctor? Get the same doctor and be like, Joseph Robinette Brandon, sir, let me tell you something. Okay, Joseph Robinette Brandon, he did the man-woman TV camera thing so hard my head spun. I have dementia now. At his young age of 874, he was able to nail that test so fucking hard. It's like, it feels like he has a Benjamin Button disease. His brain is actually too young. He's doing Brian Johnson shit. Okay, his penis also young. His penis is basically underage at this moment, and his brain, on the other hand, overage, but under the age of 874, which is how old he is. For those throwing up huhs, I'm talking about that fucking rich guy who's like, I've de-aged my penis. My nighttime erections are now better than the average 18-year-old. Last night was 175 minutes. Here's the data. Nighttime erections are a biomarker for cardiovascular, physiological, and sexual health. Sometimes when I say jokes, like, you got to fucking be with it. You know what I mean? We're not synced up. We're not synced up, and I don't like it. Being fully torqued for 175 minutes sounds like a punishment.